Hello, welcome to episode 6 of Generation 2 of the Perfect Genetics Challenge. The ghost who died by fire, the ghost of Marco Delor, is reading a bedtime story to little Sunny, the youngest of the recently aged up alien children of Don. Sunny has moved into the bedroom that recently belonged to Gary, the eldest of Olivia and Don's sons and Cindy's eldest brother, but Gary has now moved to Mountain Lake now that he's a young adult. Gary married Donna and they have twins, a boy and a girl, living in a big house in Mountain Lake. The story's finished. Marco gives Sunny a kiss goodnight and Sunny drifts off to sleep immediately, and Marco floats out to investigate what else is going on that night in this yard. Alice Fitzgerald's having a wonderful time. I suspect she might have a bit of evil in her. She's often running around in a burglar's outfit. She's one of the townies that visits this lot at night quite regularly. I've got to make sure all of the doors are locked. Although locked doors are not a very good idea for trying to keep burglars out, there are burglar alarms, so if she decided to rob the place, the alarms would go off. So far they haven't. She just seems to want to play around the yard at night, create her own little version of havoc. And one in the blue pyjamas. She's going to age up to teen shortly. Her name's Barbara Sethwood, and she's an imaginary friend made real, and her owner is Mary. Mary is Don's alien daughter. Barbara's decided she wants to have a bedtime story read to her, but she's not going to get any luck there with asking one of the townies for it, because she won't be able to get her inside the house. The doors are locked, and Barbara is an evil little sim. Barbara and Mary will both be aging up to teen shortly. Sunny had an opportunity to collect a few butterflies and moths, so before school the next morning I sent him off to catch some of the butterflies. Olivia was having a friendly chat with Pip Goodfellow while Pip's wife Dahlia was working on the group science project. Then the twins were awake and Olivia raced inside to take care of them. There seems to be an extra stray imaginary friend doll sitting in the third, otherwise empty, cot. Olivia gets the girls out of their cots and prepares them for a big day of toddler training. Hopefully they'll be ready to age up to child in the next episode. They've still got most of their toddler skills to learn. Today they're going to be taught to walk, talk and potty, and do their xylophone and pegbox skills. And once they're done, we'll start them reading their books, and then they will spend some time in the playpen and the walker, where they can learn a few charisma points as well as a few points on the abacus, which will give them logic skill, and the walker will teach them some handiness. But we won't put them in the playpen, because I want them to learn to talk before they get into the playpen. Otherwise they'll play with the mirror, and the mirror will teach them to talk. I want to use the mirror only for teaching them some charisma skill. Sometimes I forget and I put them in the playpen, and then I wonder how come they can talk already when I try to get somebody to teach them to talk. I sometimes end up putting the playpens in the household inventory because any of the other Sims in the household who are teen or older will usually try to keep them in the playpen all of the time. So I'm constantly taking little Sims out of the playpen when I've got other things I want them to learn. If you've got two of them in the playpen at the same time, their needs don't fall. They get maximum needs all the time, so it's one way to keep them quiet. And of course, little Donna, the one who's learning to walk at the moment, is Cindy's little heir. And as soon as she's old enough to start having her own babies, that will be the beginning of Generation 3 of this Perfect Genetics Challenge. She's inherited her mother and grandmother's hair and eye colour. That's how come she is the heir. So she's learnt to walk, and now it's time to potty train little Donna. Once she's been potty trained, both of the little girls will sit down together and work on their peg box and xylophone skills, while Grandma cleans up the mess after potty training. Here comes Barbara, that's Mary's little imaginary friend made real. They're about to age up to teens shortly. They've completed all of their child skills and got to grade A at school. Now it's time for Denise to learn some of her child skills. She's going to start working on her child cooking skill at the toy oven. Poor Olivia, as is required by the rules of the Perfect Genetics Challenge, she's got the dislikes children trait. So although she is very attentive to her grandchildren, as she was to her own children, she gets a negative moodlet and she often pulls dislikes type face whenever she's around them. But she looks after them, she makes sure that everything is done beautifully and that they are well trained and well looked after. Some townie's got inside. He doesn't like the sound of that xylophone, but he's decided he'll put up with it for as long as it takes for him to empty the potty. Hello, Alice Fitzgerald's inside as well. Barbara's having another chat with her. Somewhat later, and the girls are now doing their reading. They've just got to read 9 toddler skill books, and then we'll be almost ready to have them into the playpens and the walkers for a while, and then they can age up to child. But that won't happen this episode. That hallway behind Olivia there, that is the way to some of the bedrooms. And there's another hallway going across it which lets them go outside. There's an external door at each end of it. Looks like Olivia just went outside because she went down that hallway. Now this household might be suffering terribly from overpopulation, but we're not going to make these little Sims miss out on turning their imaginary friends real. And they've got to learn a lot of logic skill in the process. So here they are trying to discover potions, and they'll keep discovering potions until they've all discovered the imaginary friend metamorphism potion. It will take them quite a while because they need to have level 8 in logic before they can discover that particular potion. And so we'd better get all of the older Sims moved out. That is, all of the older Sims that we can move out will be gone soon. That's why Barbara and Mary need to age up to teen so we can get an aged up to adult and out of here soon. That science machine's been broken for ages and it's been giving everybody difficult moodlets and thought bubbles, so Bill's decided to come and fix it. He's in his pyjamas, but we don't mind as long as he gets it fixed. The only adult Sims in this household or in this family at this point are Don and Olivia. I won't be aging any of the teens up directly to adult. They'll become young adults and I'll leave them as young adults until we start generation 3, and then I'll gradually age everybody up a step, and Olivia and Don will become elders, and we'll see how we go with that. Denise just discovered a potion, but she can get back to work now and try to discover another one. Might as well get it done as fast as possible. She's been pretty quick with her potions at the moment. She just got a second potion. Just as her little buddy beside her exploded his. He needs to go and have a shower now because he can't discover any potion while he's still singed. I think he's had enough of discovering potions for the day anyway. He's looking like he wants to go to sleep. Debbie still seems keen though. We'll see what happens with her. Yep, she's going to have another go. Those blue things above their heads show their progress towards learning the logic skill, whereas the green thing above Bill's head shows his progress to fixing the science machine. Next morning, Bill and Olivia both had a desire to work out at the gym, so there was a gym nearby. It came with the world, and I sent them there to work out. and they stayed there until they had each managed to achieve the thing that they had the desire to achieve. That's one of the townies there, also working out in the gym. At home, Don needed to do some fishing, so I sent him down to the wishing well, and he stayed there until he'd improved his fishing skill a bit and caught a few fish. Cindy decided it was time her little girls became friends, so she put them both into the playpen together where they could play in the playpen and increase their friendship. And once they've got friends, then their charisma skill that they get from the mirror in the playpen can go to slightly higher levels. They do eventually need a lot of friends to make much of an effect on how high their charisma can go. But it's be good if the two of them are little friends anyway. Now Martin is a teen. He went home after school to Fawn Goodfellow's house. Now this house, I gave it a huge makeover while Bobby delivered townies to Mountain Lake. It was simply not set up for the number of Sims living in the house, so I added an extra level and extra rooms and extra furniture, so at least there's enough here for the Goodfellow family to manage to live comfortably. Martin went upstairs and used the little table to play computer games on his laptop instead of chatting with his friend Fawn. Back at home, Bart was shooting hoops with one of the townies, but that didn't last long, and Bart is Martin's imaginary friend made real. Now the problem I've got is I've got to get Martin and Bart to get some skills, and I want them to read a heap of books, mainly recipes and fishing books. That means they've got to get their fishing skill up to level 7, and they need to get a bit of cooking behind them as well, a bit better than level 3 at least. Now the way things are in this world is, with all of the overpopulation, I need to shut down and reload every time I save to avoid the error 12 next time I save. This discourages me from saving, and I occasionally leave it too long and I get an error 12 and lose everything that I've just achieved. So I decided to send some of the Sims to France. I chose France because Martin had an opportunity that he needed to travel to France to conduct an interview. The interview will be over in a few seconds, and then all of them will be free to go fishing and building up their fishing skills and do some collecting and other things as well. I'm not aiming to complete any adventures, but they might go into some tombs occasionally. I've got Martin and Bart and Cindy and her imaginary friend made real, Bobby, here at this stage. We'll see how this experiment goes. I should be able to save regularly without having to shut down in this world. So Martin's completed his interview, so now he can go off and do other things and learn some skills. We've got Cindy with us because she has the Prepared Traveller lifetime reward and will allow them to stay in the world for 6 days. Otherwise they'd only be here for 3. They mightn't have time to learn much in 3 days. So this adventure is a little bit of an experiment, and we'll see how it goes, and if it works, well then I'll be taking Sims out of that crowded house and visiting worlds where they can read books and learn skills in peace without fear of error 12s when we need to save. Cindy needs to catch a couple of frogs for the restaurant as well. I tried giving her a frog out of one of the storage boxes at home, but that didn't work. It doesn't usually work. Sometimes it does, but mainly it doesn't. She needs to catch it herself, freshly caught. It does say they want freshly caught frogs. So Bart's fishing skill is increasing, but I think Bobby's skill's already at level 10, so we'll have to get him busy doing other things. Martin's been running around catching a few butterflies and moths, but he needs to work on his fishing skill, so I'll get him fishing shortly. There's a lot of butterflies for him to catch. Looking at those boulders behind them there, I was thinking maybe I should send them off to China at some stage to get Pangu's axe, so they can come back here and smash a couple of boulders and get into that massive tomb that's underneath the fishing hole. I'm not going to do tomb walkthroughs though in this series. If you want to see tomb walkthroughs, I've done that very thoroughly in the Isle of Paradiso bunch. It's playlist 2. We've covered all of the tombs in all 3 of the World Adventure worlds. But that big tomb downstairs underneath this fishing hole, that would be a good place for them to go to get out of the sun, to cool down a bit, other than having to run home to the base camp all of the time. There were some wild horses playing around near the waterhole next to the old railway line, and Bobby headed off there. He wanted to try to befriend, or at least watch a wild horse. But you never know what he's going to do next. Oh look, there's the train. It goes past every so often. Made the horses run away. What's Bobby up to? Might just leave him there to play with the horses. Back at the waterhole, Martin's now working on his fishing skill, seeing what he can catch from the little waterhole. And Bart's gone off to catch some insects. He's got to develop his collecting skill a little bit as well. As he collects more butterflies, he'll be able to get rarer butterflies that are worth more money. Cindy has gone into town. I sent Cindy out to buy some schooling books from this world. Although they already had all of the books, some of them go missing, especially when you're moving out multiple sins. Sometimes they've got books in the inventories that you don't find. It's easier to just go and replace them than to go back to the worlds that they've moved to and search through everybody's inventories. Besides, you never know where they might have left them. Anywhere around town. Could be anywhere. I told Cindy to go and collect a few insects before I realised there was a chess tournament on in town. But I did eventually tell her to go and play chess, but it wasn't soon enough. She ran out of time to do any good at the chess tournament. But she did have a couple of games. Martin's improving his fishing skill. I'll have to get him reading some fishing books shortly. We'll see how many books they've brought with them from home. There's 3 boulders there that they need to smash to get access to the staircase that you can almost see underneath them. And once they go down that staircase, they can explore a huge tomb. The problem is, of course, they don't have Pengu's axe. And without that axe, they can't smash any of the boulders. Back at the base camp, Bobby and Bart are trying to become better friends by trying to belt the living daylights out of each other with pillows. Yep, they're having a pillow fight. I'm sure they'll be much closer friends. Meanwhile, Cindy's still playing chess. She's found herself a few different opponents, but she didn't have enough games to make it through the chess tournament. It was late when the chess tournament was finally over and Cindy was hungry. She went back to the base camp and sat outside at the fire pit and skewered a few vegetables from her inventory and cooked them over the fire pit. Once they were well done, she blew on them to make them cool enough to eat, and then she enjoyed a meal of roast veggies. After her meal, it was time for everybody to get some sleep and get ready for the next day's adventures. While everybody was sound asleep, an alien dropped by and searched the adventure board looking for adventures. I don't think she found one though. I think that alien might have been the mother of Sunny and Max, because she has the same name as their mother. Bart woke up very early the next morning before the sun was up, and he went to go and check on the wild horses down near the pond near the railway tracks. And while he was there, the train went by. Look at that. It's got a light on at night. That was exciting. It went through just before the sun came up. It was time for them to go out adventuring again. When Martin went to the pond later in the day, the weather had changed and the pond had frozen over, and Martin got an unexpected skating lesson. Well, they are here to build their skills. This is just one skill I hadn't anticipated and might get the chance to work on. He seemed to be full of energy and spent a few hours at the pond skating around and enjoying himself. I'm sure he got a few good skating points or ice skating points in the process. And that busy little train just keeps on keeping on. It goes by every few minutes. Martin managed one quick visit to the Nectary before the time was up and they had to return home. They spent most of their 6 days reading books. I was very pleased to discover that any books that any of them had in their inventories could be read on the tablets by any of the others. So some good progress was made with their book reading. I'm going to have to do that in a more organised manner next time I take them on a trip to one of the World Adventure Worlds. But that won't be until the next episode. The other very helpful thing I discovered was I was able to save as they completed their skills and read their books, so I didn't have to worry about error 12 or shutting down and reloading after each save. So I'm going to be spending a lot more time in these World Adventure Worlds as I prepare the young Sims to move out. Of course, they don't go to school, so getting them up to grade A at school will have to be done back in Moonlit Falls. And everyone's back at home now, and there is Alice Fitzgerald. We see her again, but this time she's in her burglar outfit. She hasn't made the alarms go off, so she can't be here to rob the place. She's just dropped in to play with the group science project. Some of the little aliens are out playing with their playground equipment. We're going to have a few birthday parties here soon. We need to turn some of these children into teens so we can take them off to World Adventure Worlds and teach them some skills and get them to read some books before they age up to young adult and move out. There might be just enough time for a couple of birthdays. So here is Mary. She's going to age up and become a teen. And that's Barbara, her little imaginary friend made real. And Barbara will be aging up and becoming a teen as well. But Mary's turn first. And Mary is Don's alien daughter. And Mary and Martin share the same parents, so they are brother and sister. And there's little Daryl. He's been holding court by the look of it. Mary's birthday might only have children attending. 3 alien boys, Carl, Max and Sonny, have showed up. Oh, and there's Martin. He managed to stand between us and the cake just as Mary blew out her candles, so we missed the candles getting blown out. Denise is there now. Don, that's Mary's human father. And Bill's arrived, and he's going to hide Mary from us so we can't see her transforming unless I can quickly turn the screen. Oh, no, there's Bobby. There she goes. We can almost see her. We'll get to choose a trait for her. I thought loves the outdoors might be good for her. I used to avoid that trait because my Sims with it used to play in the sprinklers endlessly. Then I stopped using sprinklers. They don't work in my basements anyway. She got to grade A at school and she did all of her child skills. She's been a child for a really long time. She probably should have aged up to teen ages ago, but we had to wait for Barbara to get her child skills and get her school grades up to level A before we could age them both up together. And of course Mary had to learn their logic skill and get it up to level 8 before she could make the potion to turn Barbara real. I'm used to seeing Mary with hair, so when she gets her makeover done, I'm going to give her hair of some sort. So she's not going to look like she is looking like at the moment. We'll wait for them to enjoy the cake before Mary finally gets her makeover, and I suspect the university mascot will put in an appearance shortly and disrupt proceedings as it usually does. I was surprised that in the end most of the household managed to make it to help Mary celebrate her birthday. Those 3 alien boys, they'd been busily trying to find the potion to make their imaginary friends real. They're getting there, but we can't make their imaginary friends real until some of these teens have moved out, and that won't happen until they've learned a few skills and got up to grade A at school and aged up to young adult. So now that Cindy has got her heir, we're going to be focusing on aging up the teens to young adult. And as expected, the university mascot has arrived. All he does is deliver a bucket full of goodies and drag the camera away from where I wanted it to be. So it's a really annoying occurrence when he turns up. Sometimes it's a she. Don't know if it's a he or a she today. It's just the university mascot. It's a sim in a mascot outfit. There he is, or she is. Who knows? It's delivered quite a few buckets there to all the different teens that have aged up recently. Nobody's very interested in them at the moment. Downstairs is another cake waiting for somebody to blow out the candles, and of course it's Barbara's turn. She needs to become a teen now. And Mary has had her makeover now, so when she comes in you'll see her with hair and a red dress on. Barbara's waited long enough. She's going to blow out her candles now. At least we managed to see that. Nobody stood between us and the cake. Here's Daryl. Here comes Mary in her new red dress with her new hair. It's not really a dress, is it? And Barbara's ready to spin into her teenaged form. And there she is, and she's going to be able to choose her own new trait. I thought it might be fun to give her the flirty trait and see what happens. Remember, she's evil. She came with the evil trait. Sometimes imaginary friends made real do end up being evil. Not all of them, but occasionally you'll get one. And that's what happened with her. Barbara had to enjoy her cake alone because the others were all too busy celebrating the fact that there was a birthday, another birthday. So there she is. She'd finished her cake before anybody else got a slice. So we'll cut to the next day when she's had her makeover. We've seen them all eating cake many times before. Although Mary's heading over and we haven't seen much of Mary in her new form, but we can see her fishing tomorrow. Now that everybody who can be aged up to teen has been aged up, I will be working on their skills. I won't show it all to you, but there will be several days in this house where they're reading recipes and collecting them in their inventories, and they're going to make sure they've got all of the fishing books in Cindy's inventory. And then, because Martin's got an opportunity now that he needs to go to Egypt, all of the teens, as well as Cindy and Bobby, are going to travel to Egypt with all these books in their inventories, and they will spend time in Egypt getting a few skills and reading lots of recipe and fishing books, because I can save without getting an error 12s in Egypt. The next morning was a Saturday, so they didn't have to go to school, and Mary took some of the children fishing because the children didn't have any fishing skill at this point, and they needed to get some fishing skill. Well, they didn't really need it yet, but they will need it soon. But they can start learning to fish. So they went to the river just across the road from where they live. Barbara had grabbed the wishing well to fish in as soon as she got her makeover. Of course, the children can't fish in the wishing well, but Mary could have. But Mary took the children over the road to fish, while Barbara stayed at home and fished in the wishing well. They get fishing skill either way, but I think Barbara's going to get a bigger variety of fish. Cindy finally got around to going to the coffee house to deliver the frogs that she caught while they were in France. Decided that the three little aliens, Carl, Max and Sunny, can work on finding the potion to turn their imaginary friends real, and get that done first because they are the oldest of the children and they will be turning into teenagers before Denise or Daryl. So we'll get them to the point where they can turn their imaginary friends real. Once they've got the potions, they will keep them in their inventories until we're able to turn the Sims that are currently teenagers into young adults and move them out. And then as soon as those teenagers have aged up and gone, then this three will turn their imaginary friends real, and we'll get those imaginary friends trained and ready to age up to teen as fast as possible. The teens are now going to focus on reading recipes, and the number of recipes they can read will be governed by the amount of cooking skill they've got. By the way, most of the magic gnomes they've got have come out of the wishing well while somebody's been fishing in it. So if you want to get magic gnomes in your game, send your Sims to fish in the wishing well. I won't get them to read any fishing books at home because they can read them in Egypt. Now, I have noticed that several of the fishing books have gone missing. So Cindy is going to be in charge of the fishing books, and she is just going to buy a fresh copy of each of them and keep those copies in her inventory until we've gone to Egypt. So the little toddlers are playing in the playpen, working on their skills. The little heir is working on the abacus where she's learning some logic skill. Actually, they're both learning logic because they're both playing on the abacus at the moment. Got a visiting ghost that's sleeping in their rocking chair. It's getting late. Don's come home from work in the culinary career. Other Sims are busily reading as is required, and I think I will leave it here. It's about time to end the video, and we will catch up on them in episode 7 when they will be heading off to Egypt and learning some skills and reading some books while they're in Egypt. So thank you for watching. If you've enjoyed the video, please give it a like, and if you haven't subscribed and would like to not miss out on the next episode, then subscribing could be a good idea. And thanks greatly for anybody who has subscribed. Bye bye for now. Thank you for watching, and happy simming.